Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. The International Court of Justice has ordered Israel to restore access to the United Nations to deliver food and other basic necessities into the Gaza Strip. The advisory opinion from the UN's top court also found Israel had not provided evidence to back its claims that the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, known as UNRWA, lacked neutrality or that a significant number of its staff members were members of Hamas. Yuji Iwasawa is president of the International Court of Justice.
In its final section on international humanitarian law, the court explains that custom international law prohibits the use of starvation of the civilian population as a method of warfare.
Israel condemned Wednesday's ruling, said it would not abide by the court's instructions. The Trump administration also condemned the opinion, with the State Department declaring it, quote, another corrupt ruling by the ICJ, unquote. In Gaza, an Israeli drone killed a Palestinian in Khan Yunis earlier today. Officials in Gaza say nearly 100 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli attacks since the U.S. brokered truce went into effect October 10th. Meanwhile, Palestinians in central Gaza on Wednesday interred the bodies of 54 unidentified Palestinians handed over by Israel in a mass grave. Many of the bodies showed clear signs of torture and execution. This is Rami Al-Farah, who tried and failed to confirm if his cousin's body was among those handed over by Israel Wednesday.
The signs of torture and brutal treatment on the body did not allow us to tell whether it was him or not. Our message and our demands to the world are to provide us with the means by which we can determine whether this person belongs to us or to someone else. The Israeli army knows these bodies are connected to people, but instead of names, they put out numbers. They left something harsh in our hearts, feelings of grief. Honestly, it's hard to bury a body when you don't know whether it's the right one or not.
Israel's Knesset has advanced legislation to apply Israeli sovereignty to all settlements in the occupied West Bank, a move that would effectively annex territory Palestinians want for a future state. The move prompted rare criticism from U.S. officials, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who departed for Israel Wednesday in a bid to prevent the U.S.-brokered Gaza ceasefire from further unraveling. Rubio's trip comes on the heels of visits by Vice President J.D. Vance and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. Earlier today, Vance said he was personally insulted by the annexation vote, which came during his visit.
It was a very stupid political stunt, and I personally take some insult to it. The West Bank is not going to be annexed by Israel. The policy of the Trump administration is that the West Bank will not be annexed by Israel. That will continue to be our policy. And if people want to take symbolic votes, they can do that. But we certainly weren't happy about it.
Separately, Israel's Supreme Court Wednesday further delayed ruling on a petition calling on Israel to allow foreign reporters access to Gaza. The Foreign Press Association said it was disappointed by the additional month-long delay, which it blasted as a stalling tactic. Meanwhile, a group of 27 Democratic lawmakers has written to Secretary of State Rubio and U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee, urging them to secure the release of Mohammed Ibrahim, a teenage Palestinian-American citizen from Florida. He was arrested by Israeli soldiers who blindfolded and handcuffed him during an early morning raid on his family's West Bank home in February. Ibrahim spent his 16th birthday in an Israeli prison where he's been held without charge for nearly 8 months. The Pentagon confirmed Wednesday the U.S. launched strikes against 2 vessels in the Pacific off the coast of Colombia, killing 5 people, and claimed without evidence the boats were carrying drugs. This follows 7 strikes on alleged drug boats in the Caribbean. In the past month, at least 37 people have been reportedly killed in international waters in U.S. strikes. In response, Colombia's President Gustavo Petro said, quote, it's murder. Whether in the Caribbean or Pacific, the U.S. government strategy breaks the norms of international law, he said. President Trump met with NATO Secretary Mark Rutte at the White House Wednesday, shortly after the Trump administration and the European Union announced new sanctions on Russia's largest oil and gas companies. The announcement came as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Trump's proposal to freeze the current front lines in the war is, quote, a good compromise, unquote. Meanwhile, Ukraine launched a strike against a Russian chemical plant on Tuesday using British long-range cruise missiles. The Wall Street Journal's reporting the Trump administration's lifting restrictions on Ukraine's use of such weapons, allowing it to strike targets deeper inside Russia. This comes as the Norwegian Refugee Council is warning millions of Ukrainian civilians could be left without heat, water, and electricity this winter due to Russian attacks on energy infrastructure. In the United States, federal government shutdown has entered its 23rd day. As a result, 60,000 aviation safety workers won't receive a full paycheck in the coming days. The authority that operates the Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport is planning to provide non-perishable food items to federal workers who are struggling to buy groceries. Meanwhile, the National Nuclear Security Administration, the agency which oversees the nation's nuclear stockpile, has announced it's furloughed more than 1,400 workers, three-quarters of its staff. On Capitol Hill, the Senate's 12th attempt to end the shutdown failed Wednesday. Ahead of the vote, Democratic Senator Jeff Merkley of Oregon delivered a 22-hour speech warning about President Trump's agenda.
Colleagues, I'm coming tonight to the floor of this Senate to ring the alarm bells because we have become an authoritarian nation over the last 9 months. We are deep into an authoritarian takeover. The Trump administration's dispatching more than 100 federal agents to the San Francisco Bay Area as it seeks to ramp up immigration raids in Northern California. That's according to the San Francisco Chronicle, which reports the deployment is a likely precursor to President Trump deploying National Guard troops to San Francisco. California's Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom blasted the deployment as, quote, right out of the dictator's handbook, unquote. In Illinois, protesters confronted masked federal agents Wednesday as they carried out multiple arrests in Chicago's Little Village neighborhood in the bordering suburb of Cicero. The agents were joined by Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bovino, whose forces were recently reprimanded by a federal judge for violating a prior court order restricting the use of tear gas and other less lethal weapons on peaceful demonstrators, journalists, and clergy. Federal agents fired pepper spray at protesters who witnessed a car crash involving federal agents.
They are thugs and they could do whatever they want, and they crashed into an individual, arrested him with no probable cause, no warrant, and instead of the police department assisting the guy that got crashed, seeing if he needed medical attention, they arrested him.
Here in New York, protesters marched Wednesday in solidarity with the street vendors who were harassed and detained Tuesday by federal agents during immigration sweeps targeting Manhattan's Canal Street. This is Awa Ngam, a street vendor and U.S. citizen originally from Mauritania who witnessed a friend's arrest by ICE agents. She was ordered to show ID proving her immigration status.
I always felt safe in America. I feel safe. I love coming to America. America is losing that. And people have to say something. They have to not be scared. They have to stand up. The time is now.
Meanwhile, a Cuban man deported by the Trump administration to the southern African kingdom of Eswatini has gone on hunger strike to protest his imprisonment in a maximum security prison there. Roberto Mosquera del Paral is among 11 so-called third country deportees sent by the Trump administration to Eswatini, despite legal challenges by human rights groups who've called the deportations a violation of U.S. and international law. The North Carolina House of Representatives has approved a new congressional map that could give Republicans an extra seat in Congress. According to state law, North Carolina's governor, Democrat Josh Stein, cannot veto the redistricting plan. President Trump praised North Carolina's map on social media last week, saying it would give voters in the state, quote, the opportunity to elect an additional MAGA Republican in the 2026 midterm elections, unquote. It follows a similar effort by Texas Republicans earlier this year when lawmakers passed a congressional map that could give Texas's congressional delegation up to 5 more House seats. A month later, the Republican-controlled Missouri state legislature passed a congressional map that would turn Democratic Representative Emanuel Cleaver's district into a Republican-leaning seat. In labor news, the New York Times reporting Amazon's planning to replace more than 500,000 jobs with robots. The company's internal documents also reveal Amazon's robotics team plans to automate 75% of the company's operations. A Senate report released earlier this month, spearheaded by Senator Bernie Sanders, warned artificial intelligence and automation could destroy nearly 100 million jobs over the next decade. Peru's interim president, Jose Heri, is declared a 30-day state of emergency after weeks of anti-government protests led to the impeachment of the previous president. The state of emergency in Peru gives the government the power to send the army to patrol the streets and curb the right to protest. Peruvians had been demonstrating over the rise in organized crime and extortion. Over the past month, more than 200 people were injured in the protests. And White House officials say the entire east wing of the White House will be demolished for the golden gilded ballroom, which President Trump said yesterday will now cost $300 million, up from $250 million, which is up from $200 million. That's despite this pledge made by President Trump in July.
It won't interfere with the current building. It'll be near it, but not touching it, and pays total respect to the existing building, which I'm the biggest fan of. It's my favorite.
The East Wing's demolition comes as the National Trust for Historic Preservation has asked the Trump administration to pause construction until the National Capital Planning Commission has completed its review of the project. In a letter, the trust said it was concerned the proposed 90,000-square-foot ballroom will, quote, overwhelm the White House itself, unquote, since the White House is 55,000 square feet. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.
And I'm Nermeen Sheikh. Welcome to our listeners and viewers across the country and around the world.
Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the daily podcast, and so much more.